Hi Hillside. Just in case you missed it, this is a quick news update mainly because churches were in the news this week. So on Tuesday, I was actually on air and the presidency said that President Cyril Ramaphosa would be calling for a day of prayer and giving some feedback after talks with religious leaders. But I must say I was completely taken aback when he announced that churches actually could resume services under lockdown level 3. Other institutions as well, under strict conditions, including a maximum of 50 people gathering. And I've asked around, and other journalists were very surprised as well. And of course, this opens up contradictions. As Wayne pointed out, there are no small gatherings, so you can't see family and friends, but you can mix with 50 fellow churchgoers. The economy is not fully open, so there's been some consternation, and restaurants who haven't been allowed to open wanted to know why the same logic and conditions couldn't be applied to them. Hairdressers and beauticians, some of them vulnerable women with children, can't work, but they can go to church. And just by the way, as a side issue, hairdressers lost a court bid to challenge the restrictions this week. So let me tell you some of the reactions from church leaders that night. The Archbishop of Cape Town made sense. He said that coronavirus may be with us for a long time. So people needed counsel, and this, after much thought, was a sustainable, workable plan. The South African Council of Churches made one of the submissions. Obviously, they're a huge group. And they were talking about how many South Africans simply don't have access to online services. So this is life-changing for them. And of course, a Muslim organization and Jewish organization welcomed what had happened as well. Commentators, though, were scathing. A lot of journalists and prominent commentators, of course, aren't Christians, and even some who are, were very critical of this move. The next day, I heard some analysis from Karima Brown, who is a journalist and known to be very connected with ANC members. She said the talk was that some of the independent churches had threatened government and said if you don't allow for this, they're going to meet anyway. And of course, the optics would have been terrible to have police breaking up church services. The implication, though, is then that government has been strong-armed and threatened and capitulated in light of those threats. It's been really interesting to watch what's happened since then. Some institutions, like a mosque in Claremont, tweeted that it would remain closed, saying it placed the preservation of life as a supreme duty and a foundational principle of faith. And really interestingly, the ZCC, the Zionist Christian Church, has decided to remain closed under lockdown level 3 because it's not safe to congregate. So we'll see how this plays out. The political reaction, the DA hasn't spoken out about this, but it's asked why other businesses can't operate under safe conditions if churches can open up. The EFF has been very critical of any of the regulations being, or the restrictions being relaxed. And of course, this is another reason it can say the president is sacrificing specifically black lives. And I think you really have a problem when the DA and EFF almost agree on something, although for very different reasons, but both questioning the logic of this. And maybe if we look at what we can pray for, I think there was an incredible political consensus. The president really spoke to opposition leaders and rallied various sectors of society before the first lockdown. And there was a lack of criticism, there was support, there was an incredible consensus that's hardly been seen in South Africa before. But that seemingly to me, is falling apart. And it's really tricky for leaders to navigate this. It's a new virus. How do you deal with it? Sometimes any move you make opens up contradictions. So maybe we just pray for that consensus to return, because we need it. Otherwise, there's going to be violence. And for wisdom among our leaders. All right, guys. Thank you. Ciao.